Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. Okay, we are outside, and it is like approaching 11 o'clock, and it's already really warm out here. So we will see how long outside lasts today, but either way, we are going to talk about the third quarter Catholic fiction genre recommendations. And this time around, we're going to talk about contemporary Catholic fiction, legal / mystery / thriller Catholic fiction, and Vatican-based Catholic fiction. Now, there's a lot of crossover between these three categories, and I will discuss that in detail when I get to them. Tried not to make this video as long as the second quarter video was. I've just looking at this, I know I just missed a book, so I'm gonna have to talk about that here in a minute. And these were not necessarily the easiest to find books for, which is surprising. Most of them are on my Kindle if I own them, or they're on Kindle Unlimited, and there is some understandable crossover between genres. So just know that going in. Like always, if you have a recommendation, or you have written something, or you've just recently read something that you know is by a Catholic author, please leave a comment so I can add it to, my wish list, and Pickles is going to talk a little bit, so I'm aware in the future. Okay, so first up, let's do contemporary fiction. And some of this is probably best categorized as historical, but it sort of seems to fit, so I'm going to put it here anyway. I'm sure you will forgive me. So first up is one I have read, one I highly, highly recommend. I own this on Kindle. That is All in Good Time by Carolyn Asfalk. This is a contemporary second chance romance. I read this November of 2024. And this was perfection. The faith, the hard topics it deals with, the second chance at love, the single mom struggling to come back. You have a main character who's struggling to come back to his faith. It was all just excuse me, allergies are driving me nuts. Perfection. So I will read you the blurb from Carolyn's website. With 3 rambunctious young children, Melanie Lombardi can't see beyond the day-to-day struggle to maintain her home and her sanity since her husband's sudden death. A second chance at romance is not on her radar. Brian Perella is done with dating, resigned to being the fun uncle and never the dad, until he meets Melanie and her brood of lively kids on the sidelines of a Little League game. But when Brian uncovers a coworker's secret, it reignites a temptation that Melanie can't know about. It's his secret to keep until an unexpected diagnosis brings everything to the surface, jeopardizing his future with Melanie and her children, who, when threatened by an unknown stalker, may need him now more than ever. This book was so hard-hitting, and I sobbed, and I cannot recommend Carolyn enough as an author. I really, really cannot. So have no fear, jump right in. Okay, next up is one I also own on Kindle. That is A Song for the Road by Kathleen Bassey. This was recommended to me by the wonderful Sharon M. Peterson, who said, look, here's my friend. She's a Catholic author. Go read her. So thank you, Sharon. I did. I loved it. If you are musically inclined, this is definitely the book for you. And I will read you the blurb. It is 1 year after the death of her husband and twin teenagers, and Miriam Tedesco has lost faith in humanity and herself. When a bouquet of flowers that her husband always sends on their anniversary shows up at her workplace, she completely unravels. With the help of her best friend, she realizes it's time to pick up the pieces and begin to move on. Step one is not even cleaning out her family's possessions, but just taking inventory, starting with her daughter's room. But when she opens her daughter's computer, she stumbles across a program her daughter has created detailing an automated cross-country road trip for her and her husband to take as soon-to-be empty nesters. Seeing and hearing the video clips her kids embedded in the program, Miriam is determined to take this trip for her children. Armed with her husband's guitar, her daughter's cello, and her son's unfinished piano sonata, she embarks on a musical pilgrimage to grieve the family she fears she never loved enough. Along the way, she meets a young, pregnant hitchhiker named Dicey, whose boisterous and spunky attitude reminds Miriam of her own daughter. Tornadoes, impromptu concerts, and an unlikely friendship. Whether she's prepared or not, Miriam's world is coming back to life. But as she struggles to keep her focus on the reason she set out on this journey, she has to confront the possibility that the best way to honor her family may be to accept the truths she never wanted to face. Hopeful, honest, and tender, A Song for the Road is about courage, vulnerability, forgiveness, even of yourself, when it really matters. I am not ashamed to say this book made me sob in the best possible way. Cannot recommend it enough. I am looking forward to the next book by her. She has several theology books and children's books. This is her debut adult novel, and oh, I'm so here for it. I'm so here for it. So, please go check it out. Okay, so here begins the crossovers. And all three of these just kind of bleed into one another, unfortunately. So first up would be Dying for Revenge by Barbara Golder. This is the first book in the Lady Doc Murder Sister series. And it's available on Kindle Unlimited. And I have never read anything by this author, but I will read you the blurb. Finalist, Next Generation Indie Book Awards 2017 Christian Fiction. Barbara Golder joins the ranks of Chesterton's bloodthirsty heirs as she spins a tale that will delight mystery fans. With Dying for Revenge in hand, your beach experience is now complete. And that is a quote from Mark Pichet, author of Mercy Works. Someone is killing the rich and famous residents of Telluride, Colorado, and the medical investigator, Dr. Jane Wallace, is on a collision course with the murderer. Compelled by profound loss and injustice, Jane will risk her own life to protect others from wrongful death, even as she extracts a high price from those who have destroyed her world. Dying for Revenge is a story of love, obsession, and forgiveness, seen through the eyes of a passionate, beautiful woman trying to have her life imperfectly but vibrantly, even if she won't, trying to live her life imperfectly but vibrantly, even if she won't survive. Dying for Revenge dives into the deeply personal place in so many hearts with justifiable reasons for revenge, but the face of mercy is intertwined with in the unexpected turn of events. You will be captivated. So, I am interested. There are 2 books currently in this series. We shall see. And, okay. Next up would be The Cardinal. And this is by Henry Morton Robinson. It is available in all formats. It is not on Kindle Unlimited. And there is a very brief blurb here. A working class American's rise to become a cardinal of the Catholic Church. The daily trials and triumph of Stephen Fermoil, from the working class suburbs of Boston, drive him to become first a parish priest, then a secretary to a cardinal, later a bishop, and finally a wearer of the red hat. And apparently, it was also made into a film starring Otto Preminger and John Huston. This is one of those that is probably better put in the historical fiction, along with this next one. And let me hush the bird. Okay. Next up is In This House of Breed by Rumer Godden. And I own this on Kindle, and I will read you the blurb. For most of her adult life, Philippa Talbot has been a successful British professional. Now in her 40s, the World War II widow has made a startling decision. She's giving up her civil service career and elite social standing to join a convent as a postulant Roman Catholic nun. In Sussex, in the south of England, Philippa begins her new life inside Breed Abbey, a venerable 130-year-old Benedictine monastery. Taking her place among the diverse group of extraordinary women, young and old, she is welcomed into the surprisingly rich and complex world of the devout, whom faith, fate, and circumstance have led there. From their personal stories, both uplifting and heartbreaking, Philippa draws great strength in the weeks, months, and years that follow, as confidence, conflicts, and poignant humanity of her fellow sisters serve to validate her love and sacred purpose. But a time of great upheaval in the hierarchy of the Catholic Church approaches as the winds of change blow at gale force. And for the financially troubled Breed and the acolytes within, it will take no less than a miracle to weather the storm. Author Rumer Godden spent 3 years living in close proximity to Stansbrook Abbey in Worcestershire, communing with the Benedictine nuns in preparation for the writing of this beloved bestseller. The result is an honest and unforgettable novel of love, sacrifice, and devotion. A major literary achievement from the acclaimed author of Black Narcissus and The River. So, I've heard nothing but great things about her. I have not read her personally, but she is very high on my list. Okay. Next up are 2 books from an author I have not read. They are books 4 and 5 in a series, but the beginning of this character's trilogy, and is supposedly a very good place to start. So I have picked up books 1 and 2. First up is Sophia House by Michael D. O'Brien, and next up is Father Elijah. And these are part of, what is the name of this series? And of course, it doesn't tell me easily. The Children of the Last Day series. So I am supposed to buddy read at least Father Elijah with Lauren over at Cohen Cottage. I will link her channel down below. And I will read you the back of both books. So this is Sophia House. Sophia House is set in Warsaw during the Nazi occupation. Paul Tarnowski, a bookseller, gives refuge to David Schaefer, a Jewish youth who has escaped from the ghetto, and hides him in the attic of their bookshop. Throughout the winter of 1942 through 1943, haunted by the looming threat of discovery, they discuss good and evil, sin and redemption, literature and philosophy, and the respective religious views of reality. Decades later, David converts to Catholicism and becomes the Carmelite priest, Father Elijah Schaefer, called by the Pope to confront the Antichrist, and Michael O'Brien's best-selling novel, Father Elijah, An Apocalypse. In this prequel, the author explores the meaning of love, religious identity, and sacrifice, viewed from two distinct perspectives. The cast of characters also includes the notorious Count Smolkarov, a literate Nazi major, a French novelist, a terrifying Polish bear, a Russian icon painter, Andrei Rublev, and Palwal's beloved Kalaya, the elusive figure who moves through the story as an unseen presence. As the story unfolds, the loss of spiritual fatherhood in late Western society is revealed as the problem of language in the heart and soul, and is one of the gravest crises of our times. The story points the way to the rediscovery of our Father in heaven, but also shows us the path to renewal in the human fatherhood. This is the novel about small choices that shift the balance of the world. So this is the Father Elijah trilogy. This is Father Elijah, An Apocalypse. And this one does not have a blurb on the back. And these are both published by Ignatius Press, and they have very lovely spines. But unsurprisingly, it does not mention where they are in the series, which is incredibly annoying. Not gonna lie, it's incredibly annoying. So, okay. Next up, let's move on to the legal thriller mystery category. And when I established the Discover Catholic Fiction 2025 reading challenge, I thought for sure it wouldn't be a problem finding Catholic legal fiction. Let me tell you how wrong I am. I know of one series that is just pure legal Catholic fiction in the vein of John Grisham, for starters. And that is unfortunate. However, luckily, I've read the author. I've read the first book in the series. I own books 2 and 3 in the series as well. And it is a worthy Catholic version of Grisham. So if you love John Grisham and you're Catholic, you will enjoy these. That is Sign of the Cross by Anne Emery. It is the first book in the Cullen and Burke mystery series. There are currently 13 books in the series. It has been, I think the first book was published in 1989. And they are fantastic. And they would fall, you could understand why this would come under Catholic secular as well, and Catholic contemporary, and I'll read you the blurb and then I'll talk a little bit about the book. Be careful what you wish for, his mother used to say. Yet, how many times in his 20 years defending the underclass has Monty Collins wished for a client who is intelligent, articulate, and tattoo-free? Now he has one, but it's not long before his mother's warning comes back to haunt him. Father Brennan Burke was born in Ireland, raised in New York, and I just turned off my laptop. Raised in New York, educated in Rome. He's equally fluent in Latin and the language of the street. And he is the prime suspect in the killing of a foxy young girl whose body was found carved with a religious sign, a sign that points straight to the priest. From their first meeting, Monty finds Burke acerbic, arrogant, and evasive about his relationship with the victim. Conflict between lawyer and client simmers all through the ordeal that lies ahead, as evidence piles up and murder charges seem inevitable. With Burke remaining tight-lipped about his past, Monty has no choice but to go behind his back and conduct a probe into the life of his own client. Never in his career has Monty been so lost for answers until a long-forgotten incident takes on a new and ominous meaning. I absolutely loved this book. Yes, there's swearing. Yes, there is a Catholic priest who is not perfect. This shows the humanity and brokenness and frailty of clergy beautifully. Is it a book that would be published by a Christian publisher? Nope. For a variety of reasons. However, I absolutely loved this book. I am looking forward to the second book in the series and all of the remaining ones. The frailty of our protagonists, the faith, the reasons behind everything that happens. It was a good, twisty, turny, well-plotted mystery, and I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it. I cannot recommend it enough. So, that is the only actual legal Catholic fiction I could find. So the rest in this category are going to be Miller's or thrillers, mysteries, suspense type books. And, you know, they fit into the category well, but they're also, for the most part, all contemporary and or Vatican based. So, know that going in. Okay. Next up is a book I want to read. I don't yet own it, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute as to why. That is Death in Black and White by Father Michael Brisson. It is published by Ignatius Press, and this came out May of last year. And now we're going to have an uncomfortable conversation. This book is stupidly priced. I'm just going to be blunt. It is stupidly priced. It is 366 pages. It does have that going for it. I'm going to talk about that here probably at the end of the video. However, in paperback, it is $17.09. And on Kindle, it is currently selling for $16.24. That is insanity. While I can somewhat understand the paperback price, the Kindle price is out of control. And Ignatius Press in particular is very bad at making pricing decisions that seem reasonable to Catholic readers. At least this book is 366 pages. But this is a format it, set it up, get it released on, e-readers across, the spectrum, and forget it, and it brings you money. If you want people to buy your book, and it's probably not one they're going to reread, and it's not some 800-page tome, like I'd like to pick up, why is it $16.24 on Kindle? Is there an explanation? Because I can't tell you one. I'm not willing to buy it. I will pick it up used. I will pick it up on sale, but I will not buy it at that price. I don't care how interested I am. That is an absolutely insane price for a Kindle book. Okay. Rent over. Here's the blurb. Father Christopher Hart, a young New York priest and a classic film buff, is unwittingly drafted by the mob to hear the confession of a man slated for execution. This was not one of the duties he expected when he became a first-time pastor. Learning how to balance the books and safely navigate parish politics, yes. But playing a key role in the White Death, a mafia ritual in which a person condemned to death is allowed to confess his sins before he is killed, was not included on the Parish Leadership 101 curriculum. Should he just do his job and collaborate with the mob for the sake of souls, or find a way to stop the violence? Unrelentingly comparing his life to his favorite classic movies, Father Hart wishes he could just play the role of Father O'Malley from Going My Way, but he ends up playing a character more akin to Philip Marlowe from The Big Sleep. This riveting page-turner will entertain, but will also drive the reader to grapple with important themes such as identity, purpose, justice, sin, and ultimately, redemption. I think this book sounds incredibly interesting and fascinating. It is the only book he has written, but, like I said, the pricing makes no sense, and I cannot, at that price, justify it. I cannot. Okay. Next up, I own this. This is Catholic Joe, Superhero. I believe this is supposed to be the first in the series, and it is available on Kindle. It is by Stephen S. Thomas, and it is 516 pages. I will read you the blurb. This is the first in the Catholic Joe series. Lieutenant General Joseph Salvatore, husband and father of a large family, is a man's man. At age 48, he is still one of the deadliest men on the planet, able to kill an enemy with his bare hands, and with the same hands tenderly caress his wife and children. Joe brings that same lethal intensity as he fights to save his youngest brother Vinny's marriage. In fighting for his brother, Joe, later deemed Catholic Joe by a reporter, uncovers corruption in the government and his church. You will feast on courage while you accompany Joe as he is targeted in a raid on his home by the FBI. No. Pickles the bird. Secretly placed in Cook County Jail to be Epsteined and targeted by Freemasonic assassins before he can share with the world what he has uncovered. And I need to read. It has a average Goodreads rating of 4.4 and a 4.8 on Amazon. And I'm sorry, Pickles is going to be a little bit mouthy. Is the Blackie Ryan series. It's written by Andrew Greeley, who's going to appear more than once on this list. There are... Hang on. This is the Kindle stuff. I don't want Kindle. I want paperback. So, the first book in the Bishop Blackie series is Happy Are the Meek. And these are... Not all of them are available on Kindle Unlimited. I believe there's 7 out of the 17 or 18 books in the series. They are available in various price points. If you see them used and they're in good condition, pick them up, because some of them are outrageously expensive in physical format. They're not all available on Kindle, which makes no sense. These are written by um, were written by a Catholic priest who lived in Chicago. All of his Bishop Blackie books, or almost all of them, take place in Chicago, and they were fantastic. I devoured them as they came out, and unfortunately, Father Greeley has since passed away. May God have mercy on his soul. And I would happily read all of these again. So, the first book in the Bishop Blackie series is Happy Are the Meek. This is not available on Kindle. It has a gripping one-sentence description on Amazon. The Reverend Monsignor John Blackwood Ryan, the detective priest, investigates a widow's claim that her dead husband's spirit is haunting her and uncovers a possible case of murder. Like I said, I absolutely love these books. There's faith, there's a good mystery story, there's just everything you want in a mystery. They're perfection. I don't say that often, but they are perfection. Okay. Next up is a book I have not read. It is more expensive to buy it on Kindle than it is to buy the obscure hardcover, or the mass market paperback, or the paperback. Again, makes no sense. That is Novena for Murder by Carol Ann O'Marie. She happens to be a nun. This is the first book in the Sister Mary Helen Mysteries series, and it is a whopping 244 pages. And if you buy it on Kindle, it is $9.99 for 244 pages. No. I'll read you the blurb. Sister Mary Helen isn't ready for retirement. Instead, she's arrived at San Francisco's Women College to teach history and perhaps shake things up. An earthquake does that before she can. And amidst the rubble lies a body. An act of God is not responsible for the death, but rather murder. One of Sister Helen's fellow nuns begins a novena to St. Dismas, the good thief, predicting the saint will reveal the murderer within 9 days. Sure enough, the police soon nab a suspect, but Sister Mary Helen believes it's the wrong man and begins her own pursuit of the killer. Her motive is justice, and her inspiration, simply divine. So, I think it sounds entertaining, but again, not at that price point. Just no. Next up, same price point issues, but I love this series, and I know it's generally available on Better World Books for very good pricing. That is A Shameful Murder by Cora Harrison. I probably own this one on my shelf somewhere. I just didn't pull it out. In fact, I know I do. This is the first book in the Mother Aquinas mystery series. There are 10 books in the series, and they're fantastic. And they're historical. Ireland, 1923. The country has been torn apart by the War of Independence and is now in the throes of sectarian violence and severe flooding. But Mother Aquinas knows that not all floods cleanse the deeds of humanity. When a body washes up at her convent chapel, dressed in evening finery, she immediately suspects foul play. The overstretched police force may be ready to dismiss the case as accidental drowning, but strangulation marks on the girl's throat tell a grimmer story. Mother Aquinas wants justice for the girl and won't let a murderer slip away unpunished under the cover of war. I have read this one. It is fantastic, and Cora Harrison can write. It is a beautiful thing. Okay, Next, let's talk about Vatican-based fiction. There's a lot of it. A lot of it is secular in nature, like completely secular in nature, but the Vatican plays a role. Some of it is written by Catholics and focuses on, the inhabitants who live and or work at the Vatican. So that is, I was very intentional in trying to get only established and known to me Catholic authors for Vatican fiction. So first up would be Love in the Eternal City by Rebecca W. Martin. This came out last year. This is a contemporary Catholic romance, thriller, love story. It's got a little bit of everything. I absolutely loved it. It is the first in the Swiss Guard romance series. I love the cover. Like, I love the cover. And I absolutely loved this book. I will read you the back. Rome, once the heart of an empire, now the heart of the Catholic Church, has witnessed many love stories. When the Eternal City draws together a Swiss Guard and an American expat, a modern-day romance blooms in the shadow of St. Peter's Basilica. Haunted by a broken engagement and betrayed by her best friend, Elena Gaetano travels to Rome for a new job and the hopes of a new life. Fueled by pasta and bolstered by prayer, she becomes brave enough to forge new friendships with the Reichensteiner siblings as she explores Rome and finds her footing at work. Benedict Reichensteiner is comfortable serving in the Swiss Guard, even if he recognizes his life lacks a special something, or someone. Simmering family tension and uncertainty about his future have left Benny wary of relationships, but his unexpected feelings for Elena challenge him to face his fears. Soon, Benny and Elena's friendship turns into more. Thanks to the matchmaking meddling of a Vatican spy master, a Swiss Guard comrade-in-arms, and Benny's overenthusiastic yet lovable sister. But then Elena's past follows her to Rome, putting her in danger that not even Benny may be able to save her from. And if Benny wants to be with Elena, he'll need to discern where his own future lies and reconcile with his father after years of bitterness. Can the two forge a relationship strong enough to withstand the suffering that comes their way? Or will the tensions of their own lives pull them apart? The faith in this book is absolutely phenomenal. It comes in at just under 300 pages, and I still loved it. To be honest, this book is just a joy. And I couldn't put it down. I initially bought it on Kindle. I loved it so much, and I never do this. So this tells you how much I loved it. I went and purchased a physical copy. And I loved it so much that it is a July possible book poll choice. So if I get this video out before Friday of this week, which would be the 20th, go vote in the poll if you want to read it. Seriously, I loved this book. I really, really did. I cannot say enough good things about it. Okay. Next up would be The Shoes of the Fisherman by Morris L. West. I love this cover, by the way. This is the first book in the Vatican trilogy. I own this one. It is available on Kindle. And I will read you the blurb. The Pope is dead, and the corridors of the Vatican hum with intrigue as cardinals gather to elect his successor. The result is a surprise. The new Pope is the youngest of them all, a bearded Ukrainian. The Shoes of the Fisherman is the moving story of Kirill I, recently released from 17 years in Siberian labor camps and haunted by his past. Not only is he the leader of a fractured Catholic Church, but he also finds he must confront his inquisitor and tormentor in order to avert another world war. And this was published long before current events. The Kindle version was published in 2017. And so, yeah, that makes it easier to digest, in my opinion. Okay, next up, I own this series 2. It says it's a trilogy. There is no third book to the best of my knowledge. That is Conclave by Greg Tobin. It is called the Holy See Trilogy, of which there are 2 books currently. I own this. It's available on Kindle. It is 464 pages. Again, the Kindle pricing is silly. I got it on sale. So, born and raised in suburban New Jersey, Timothy John Mulrennan has known since childhood a deep and abiding faith in his God and his church that leads him to a career as a priest and propels him onto the stage of world events that includes the Second Vatican Council, the Vietnam War, and the election of the first Supreme Pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church of the third millennium. Along the way, he encounters some of the most remarkable characters in contemporary fiction. Henry Martin Venelholm, the leader of the conservative lay movement called Evangelium Christi, and Mulrenan's bitterest enemy within the church, Rachel Soretti, a beautiful artist from Hungary who falls in love with Bishop Mulrennan and gives him the greatest gift a woman ever could. Cardinal Leandro Biaggi, I'm sure I mispronounced that, a wily and urbane politician who would be at home in the time of the Medicis and the Borgias, and Jaime de Guzman, the Archbishop of Manila and longtime friend of Tim Mulrenan's, the one man who speaks in the Americans' defense during a divided conclave and who pays the ultimate price for his honesty and faith in God. I need to know. That one I just need to know. So, next up is My Father's House by Joseph O'Connor. This one is currently $1.99 on Kindle. It is 418 pages. It is the first book in the Rome Escape Line trilogy. There are currently 2 books released. The second book just released. And I will read you the blurb. Based on the true story of a World War II daring attempt to smuggle thousands through the Vatican and out of occupied Rome, right under the noses of Nazi occupiers. A Washington Post and Irish Times Best Book of the Year. Finalist for the 2024 Walter Scott Prize. It's 418 pages, and I will read you the blurb. September 1943. German forces have Rome under their control. Gestapo boss Paul Hauptmann rules over the Eternal City with a vicious efficiency. Hunger is widespread. Rumors fester. The war's outcome is far from certain. Diplomats, refugees, Jews, and escaped Allied prisoners flee for protection into Vatican City, a neutral, independent state nestled in the city of Rome. A small band of unlikely friends, led by a courageous Irish priest, is drawn into the battle of wits as they attempt to aid those seeking refuge. Suspensefully and beautifully written, My Father's House tells an unforgettable story of love, faith, sacrifice, and courage. Needless to say, you know I want to read it. Okay. Next up, oh, look, it's a Father Greeley book. This is White Smoke, a novel of papal election. And it's goofily priced as well. I bought it on sale. He's one of those auto buys when it comes on sale for me, so that's nothing surprising. Chicago's Sean Cardinal Cronin and his assistant, Bishop John Blackie Blackwood, have traveled to Rome to take part in the next papal election. They lead a reformist coalition that has chosen a gentle and brilliant Spanish scholar as their candidate. But shadowy Vatican forces will do anything to prevent change and maintain power. A lone assassin stalks the Vatican, determined to destroy the next pope as soon as the traditional white smoke issues from the cardinal's meeting room, the Sistine Chapel, followed by the ancient words Habesum Papam. Now the future of the Catholic Church hangs in the balance as Vatican City intrigue meets Chicago-style politics. This was published in 1997, and I'm gonna be honest here. Father Greeley's version of Catholicism is in line with Jorge Catholicism, and mine is not. That being said, all of his books were written while, I think almost all of his books actually were written while Pope John Paul II was Pope. And as far as I recall, I haven't read any recently, there is no nonsense of any kind. You know it's liberal Catholicism, but it's liberal Catholicism that is much different than that same label would mean today. So, okay. That being said, next up is The Red Hat by Ralph McInerney. This is, I have this on Audible or on Kindle. Why is it not listing it as Kindle? Weird. It's 581 pages. I bought it on sale, and I will read you the blurb. A murder, an accusation of sexual misconduct in the future cardinal's past, a seminary rivalry, vaulting ambition, a power play in international finance, a virtual schism in the American hierarchy, another Avignon pope, 2 or 3 really nice people. McInerney's new novel will keep you in suspense until the next to the last page. And that is a quote from Michael Novak, American Enterprise Institute. So, where is the actual description? The first things, Ralph McInerney's satirical probe into the sickness of our times is very funny. But beneath the comedy and the pathology, there is an undercurrent of grief over the immense tragedy of the church in North America and Europe. As the author presses down with his scalpel, he exposes betrayal in all of its banality, and not for the purpose of mockery, but to point to something better that is still possible for us to recall. It is still possible for us to recall us to an authentic hope. The central character, Archbishop Lennon, is a kind of Episcopal everyman who is paralyzed by his weakness, ambition, and mind-numbing commitment to ecclesial politics. He stands at the crux of a dilemma upon which rests the future of the Church in the West. This is a book that should be read in every chancery, rectory, and university faculty. Indeed, wherever men have grown cynical about the bride of Christ. Michael O'Brien, that's a quote from Michael O'Brien, author of Father Elijah. You need not be Father Dowling to follow Ralph McInerney's trail through the agony of one bishop's lust for the cardinal's hat, with its well-built chicanery and the ultimate test of faith, fidelity to the Pope and to martyrdom, or media acclaim and power from schismatic peers. And that is a quote from Monsignor George Kelly, author of Battle for Something They Fail to Say. I know I'm going to love this book. Not the best description in the universe, but I have to fault both Goodreads and Amazon for that because they share the same description because they're both owned by Amazon, obviously. And it is published by Ignatius Press. Okay. That is the third quarter genre fiction recommendations for Catholic fiction. I will include all of the links on Discord, but, shortly after this video is published. I hope you have found something to spark your interest. If you have a recommendation for me, please leave a comment on YouTube or go over and comment in the appropriate category on Discord. I am always looking for good Catholic fiction. Okay. And I don't need to talk about pricing because I did that earlier. So, okay. Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.